Prime Minister, we have had on the show this morning the owner of Queenstown's Lone Star restaurant. Dave Gardner is his name. He says they are so short-staffed, as you will probably know in Queenstown, that a lot of them are operating at 50% capacity. They're closing for lunch. They're closing for 2 nights of a week. Just have a listen to some of what he said about the difficulty he's having trying to get staff into the country.
And I'm actually opening up a door and saying, look, I've got all those tables. I've got plenty of tables. I just don't have any staff. I don't have enough staff to operate at capacity. So we operated off half capacity most nights, and I'm literally looking at my roster every 2 hours, 3 hours, seeing where we can go and what we can handle. Yeah, it is a bit devastating after having 2 years of no customers to be in the situation.
So the new accredited employer scheme that you have set up, he says, well, one, he hasn't even had time to get himself accredited because he's literally just serving drinks and serving customers in his establishment. So he hasn't had time to do that himself. But the people who have said that it's more paperwork, it's harder. It's fine to become accredited, but once you get to the next step, to the jobs check, things start to get really difficult, and it seems to be taking longer than the old system. Was now the right time to reform in the middle of a labour shortage?
Oh, well, I have to say I've been looking through some of those who are already filling roles or are in the process of have been gone through all those stages, because we've had thousands of employers accredited, we've had thousands now of job checks completed, and I'm now starting to see come through, because this was a recent change, actually the individuals coming in and filling roles, and they include cooks and chefs and so on. And so here, all I could say, Ryan, is I am interested in those personal experiences, because this was designed to be simpler and easier. The thousands of job checks we're having completed and coming through suggest to me that where there are issues, they are being ironed out, because we're starting to see those come through. But always interested to hear that experience on the other side, so that if we can make tweaks to make it as simple as it is intended to be, I'd like to see that happen. The other issue is, of course, down in Queenstown, it's one of those places where usually you'd have a lot of working holiday makers who would be working in the industry. One of the issues is we have thousands of working holiday visas out there. They're being processed within, as little as 10 days for individuals who are applying. The issue is, I expect, a number of those working holiday makers are choosing to stay wherever summer is. So we just haven't had them coming into the country.
No, that's right.
We've just put another 12,000 places out to try and get those moving. We've looked to do surveys to see when people anticipate coming in, and we're doing everything we can to attract those working holiday visas a little earlier.
You mentioned you were watching closely and interested in the number of chefs coming into New Zealand. How many chefs have arrived under the new scheme?
Oh, I couldn't tell you whether or not they've come in, but I'm starting to see the numbers come through of those that...
Isn't that crucial? That's the most important thing, is whether they're actually here cooking the eggs? Well, again, we don't necessarily connect how many, once they've got their visa, they've got their visa. It's whether or not they've then stepped into the country. I don't know whether or not we then are able to tell you the exact moment they begin their employment. But interesting on those lists, they separate out chefs and cooks. I saw, for instance, 100 cooks had already were coming through that system, and then there were chefs on top of that as well. So they were amongst those that were obviously moving through at a reasonable pace. It is, as you say, though, a new system.